Right.
Alright, just had to make sure that the camera. Alright, good morning, you guys. I'm up in the car early in the morning, 6 o'clock. Couldn't get no sleep last night. Had a conversation with a dude, and to me, be patient with me. I'll try to get this thing situated. To me, I had a conversation with a dude last night, and he was talking about, what was the conversation? We were talking about some ills in the black community, and I really don't like having those conversations because I'd rather talk about solutions. And then he had brought up Al Sharpton. I'm gonna go through a couple batteries on this, so I'm not to load this up in segments, but he had mentioned Al Sharpton, man, and I said I don't support that guy and endorse that guy, and he had got offended, and this conversation we had, man, I took it personal, man, because the thing is, he was saying something to me was insulting stuff. We were having this conversation, and I said I don't endorse him or support him, and then he had mentioned a couple of things that had gotten on my nerves, because he had said, if something had happened to your son, that'd be the first person. Who would you call? You'd have to call him. And I want to get back to that later, but see, the thing is, you guys have to understand, when somebody who doesn't have kids is talking to someone who has kids and gives you the worst case scenario, see, to me that's crass. You don't do that because you talking. See, what you're talking from yourself is hypotheticals because you don't have kids. But for those of us that have kids, those are actual and practicals that we would never wish on anybody. We don't wish that Sean Bell, nor Patrick Dorsman, or Amadou Diallo, or Ramarley Graham, or Oscar Grant, or Trayvon Martin. We don't wish those things on anybody. All right. For you who doesn't have children, to say something like that, I mean, come on, man. It's self-serving. It's self-serving. Now, to get back to the other point, what would I do? And I said, well, I'd have to call somebody else. I'd have to call a lawyer. All right? I'd have to call a lawyer. Because one of these big name lawyers that they have downtown in them shiny office buildings, right? Oh, I wouldn't have to call Al Sharpton. I can call many people in 12 different states. Well, first of all, that's speculation. Yeah, you know that you can call many people in 12 different states, but you don't know if they're going to respond. Remember, you're deceased. See, I don't even like that argument. See, the greater issue is that to tell someone that they need to call Al Sharpton, they need to call this one guy, wouldn't that make that person a poverty pimp, right? No matter how much suffering you go through in this world, if you want to get retribution or you want to get identification with your cause, you got to go past this one guy. Wouldn't that make him an overseer? Wouldn't that make him a gatekeeper? Because he's going to talk to the powers that be, and they might see your concern if he's interested. Now, if he's not interested, then what? All right? All these issues they're all underlying to me. Then, I took it offensive. What are you doing? You a loser because all you're doing is criticizing. I'm only criticizing because, you don't see anything ever change. You see nothing ever change, man. You'll see the same people here in New York. You'll see Floyd, Flake, Calvin, Butts. They all got a church. It's the only way you can be a leader, in quotations, because you need a church and a congregation and a flock. You are being a leader who somebody appointed you leader. I don't understand that concept anyway. All right? But you're telling me I have to endorse this guy because, listen, Al Sharpton can do his thing, but don't need me to support it. He doesn't need me to validate it. He can do his thing. If that's his thing, he can do that thing. All right? Doesn't need me to validate his enterprise, his business, I call it a hustle, his hustle. All right? Listen, if the guy has a TV show and a radio show, you can believe that the things that he talks about on that show are the things that he really is about. Right? I'm not questioning his devotion to the people. I'm questioning his commitment to the people. I used to listen to that radio show. It used to come on at nighttime, so I would listen to one show, and then his show would come on after that, and then be another one of those political, social commentary shows that would come on after that. Now in New York, they moved the show to the morning time, 9 o'clock on a Sunday morning, which was good because, I really needed something to listen to at 9 o'clock on a Sunday morning. But then I was listening to the show, and then it didn't seem to be that the show was about any real answers, man. Right? It wasn't about offering up solutions and things that people could do. It just seemed to be a show, the radio show. I don't watch the show on cable on MSNBC because I don't have cable, don't watch TV like that, But, it seemed to be one of those shows where people would just call and they would just pass the buck. And they would pass the buck in the way that I'm saying that they would pass the buck is what they would do is they would just call and they would complain and then get off the phone. It would be people, and you gotta understand what I'm saying. It would be people that would call from Indianapolis. Oh, Reverend Al, you gotta come out to Indianapolis. Things is bad in Marion County. The police is doing this. The county prosecutor doing this. It would be calls from other people in the Midwest or whatever. Guy in St. Louis. Oh, Reverend Al, you gotta come on out to St. Louis. The city attorney is just doing this and the police chief is doing that. Or, Reverend Al, you gotta come on out to Denver. The things is bad. I mean, the judge, what he done did, or you gotta come to Louisville, or you gotta come to San Antonio. I'm like, look, for those of you people in those areas, in St. Louis and San Antonio, Louisville, wherever you are, why do you need some dude from New York to come and validate your campaign? Right? Why can't you people on your own develop your own initiatives to deal with the issues in your community? Why do you need the dude from New York because he got a TV show, he got a radio show? Big deal. You got pockets, right? See, this guy I was talking to last night was like, well, what am I doing? What's my initiatives? And what's my leadership campaign? I'm like, look, I am personally responsible for my own budget. I am personally responsible for utilizing my own money. So therefore, why would I want to support any enterprise, any business, or any person that does not want me there? That does not cater to me, right? When you in white America, they tell you the customer is always right. When you in black America, it's spend your money and leave. So one of those is true and one of them isn't, right? If the customer is always right, and if I don't spend my money and I do leave, you won't be in business very long. That's a lesson that you can learn. So what I've decided to do with my own money, don't need to support Paula Deen. Don't need a restaurant, don't need a cookbooks, don't need anything that she makes or has her name on. Right? What I've decided to do is that I don't need to buy the New York Post. Won't support it. Won't even give it an honorable mention anywhere. That's what I've decided to do, and that's my chief objection with Al Sharpton. All right, because just like I was with my colleague last night. I used to believe that Al Sharpton, if you in a debacle, or you in a piece of trouble, you in a bit of trouble, that was a person that you can call, and that person would come to your aid. Until the issue with Barack Obama, the editorial in the New York Post. I keep trying to make this point, and people kept saying like this point doesn't matter, and it does matter. You see, nobody lives in a fishbowl. You live in a lake. You live in an ocean, right? In 2009, all of those newspapers, there were a lot of big city newspapers that were filing bankruptcy using their own business plan, which proved to be uncompetitive with the internet. I said this in a previous video. So when the New York Post draws a cartoon that should offend every black person on the planet, if not everyone in this country, and there's no repercussions to Rupert Murdoch, there's no repercussions to the cartoonist, there's no repercussions to anybody at the New York Post. Tell me, where is your political power if you can't manifest it economically? All right, Rupert Murdoch owned a newspaper in the United Kingdom, and they had some phone tapping scheme where some girl committed suicide. They shut that newspaper down. He had to fold that newspaper. But over here, let's just bygones be bygones. All right. Now, for those of you who are looking for a source, you need to go to Wayne Barrett, WAYNE Barrett. Used to be a columnist with the Village Voice. Wayne Barrett broke the story. He said the reason why nothing happened to the New York Post is because Al Sharpton, who had gotten out of the Metropolitan Detention Center, met with the bigwigs downtown New York, met with Bloomberg and all these other guys, right? And they had decided that he was going to be the appointed person to put an end to the possibility of retaliation against the New York Post. Now, one thing you got to know about the Rupert Murdoch organization is they're doing some things that you can't do in New York City under federal law. You can't own two TV stations in the same market. He owns Channel 5 and Channel 9. All right? And owns the Fox News Network and the Fox Channel and FX Sports and FX Movies, or actually it's Fox Sports Net, and FX Movies and the New York Post. And he is not an American citizen. He is an Australian. All of that stuff is against federal law. Can't have two TV stations and a network and a news network and a TV network and a newspaper all in the same market. The guy should have been broken up 20 years ago, but nobody wants to say anything. So what they did is they said, you know, if you take the lead on this thing right here, we'll consider you in the future. And that's how he got that show on MSNBC. That's exactly how he got that show on MSNBC. Look it up, Wayne Barrett. Wayne Barrett broke that story. So when Wayne Barrett called him a scumbag, I had to agree with him. Because what he did was he sold out the dignity of all the black people in this country so he can get a TV show. Now, the colleague I'm having the conversation with last night says, well, why shouldn't he? No one in the black community is taking care of Al Sharpton. Why can't he make an effort to cross bridges and, take care of himself? Look, he was going to get a TV show anyway. That's just the fact of the matter, right? They give all of these guys TV shows just to keep the black population stagnant and patient. Nobody ever asks for any returns or any specific goals or objectives. But I'll give you a TV show, and you can just keep rehashing the same issues for 20 years. And if you don't believe me, go look up on YouTube episodes of Like It Is from 20 years ago. That would be 1993. Watch a few of them episodes and you see basically the same issues. Basically the same issues. So there's no progress. The progressives don't progress. So they're not really progressives. Either they're regressives or they're stagnants. Right? Because if nothing ever changes, then it remains stagnant. So they're status quos. They're status quotients. That's what they are. Give the guy a show, right? So that was that thing right there. And look, I don't hate the guy. I don't hate anybody. But as far as me endorsing your political campaign or your political endeavors, to what end? And that's what I'm looking for. The end. You give a guy a TV show and a radio show, and all he has is a TV show and a radio show that you can call in, maybe if you can get through the lines, and you can tell him about your problems, and then you get off the phone, and you go back to your community, and you still got the same problems, because you're waiting for someone to come outside and validate them. You don't need him to validate your problems in Indianapolis. In Indianapolis, there are things you can do. Look, Adam Clayton Powell said, use what's in your hands. Marcus Garvey said, up you mighty people. Accomplish what ye will. Right? Elijah Muhammad, do for self. So you don't need him to do what you know you need to do. And what you need to do is know how to manage your money. Just like I did when I said I'm not going to buy those Nikes. Well, first of all, I'm not going to stand in line to buy shoes. I'll tell you right now, I go to Kmart. And that's me endorsing Kmart. Even though the shoes probably still built in the same factory in China. But they're being sold at a relatively affordable rate. You spend $200 and then, it's like McDonald's where 17% of the labor costs account for are wrapped into the product. So they're selling you these shoes for $150, knowing that they only cost them, $12 to make. So my thing is, that's what you do. I mean, I don't endorse McDonald's either. I decided not to go there because if you're paying people minimum wage and the cheapest value meal you have is that cheeseburger deal, and that thing costs $6, so you're paying somebody $7 an hour, and they're losing about 25% to taxes. These people have to work 2 hours to order the cheapest meal on your menu. And there are also other reasons you can see, but a lot of that food is GMO. or pink slime, or a lot of different things. It's being, it's processed food. That McRib is that's not rib. That's just pork trimmings that have been pressed into a mold. So there are a lot of reasons you can decide not to participate or visit a specific merchant, right? That's what I can do. Now, if you hear what I'm saying and you agree with me and you decide to do the same thing, that's how you stick it to them companies. But you don't need an Al Sharpton or a Jesse Jackson to show up and then whatever he say to do is what we're going to do, because he represents the unified voice. Because we don't know that he's not taking a payoff in the back room somewhere. He may take a payoff from McDonald's, or McDonald's, a corporate advocate to finance a boycott against Burger King, because that's what they do also. One side will pay the other side. The coffee industry will pay him to represent the well-being of coffee, as long as he doesn't represent the benefits of orange juice. That's what they do. Now, another thing he had said that got on my mind, got on my nerves, is that it was just about that. You a loser, you ain't doing nothing, you complaining. I'm only complaining because nothing ever changed. Nothing ever changes, right? Where the people that come through. And another thing, he said that he was a mentor. And see, remember, for those of you who have children, you read it in everybody. You read in everybody who says they are this, that, the other thing when it comes to their influence on other children, right? That's why I don't put the boy in the Boy Scouts, because they with that pro-homosexuality thing, which means it's an indoctrination effort. What they're going to do is teach outdoorsmanship and sportsmanship and civic duty. Yeah, that's what they're going to do on this hand. That's the side of the hand that you can see. But on the back side, they're going to teach those tenets of homosexuality and possibly pedophilia. I believe that. All right? And then my colleague last night had made an argument that he had said the reason why the black community is so bad. And I hate having these conversations. So when we start talking about literature, that the whole conversation, they seem to revolve around black literature. Ivan Van Sertima, Cheikh Anta Diop. And I don't have a problem with people that want to study black anthropology, African anthropology, those comedics and stuff like that. My problem is if that is all you know. Like I said, I don't have a problem with those books. I don't have a problem with the authors. I don't have a problem with the topic material. But I am not interested in it. All right? I was interested in that stuff when I was a teenager. Right? When I was a teenager, and my stepfather would have all of these books, and then those are real good books to read, because they taught you about yourself. But to me, it's like the lyrics in the Stevie Wonder song Pastime Paradise. You spend too much time living in the pastime paradise. Right? I've got no problem with comedics and Egypt anthropologists and folklorians and folklorists and people that like to really delve into that. But I consider myself to be more of a humanist, so the reason I don't want to get those shoes made in China is because they're made with child labor or slave labor, and if I have to get them, I do not want to make anyone else rich in my acquisition of those shoes. So the name brand doesn't really matter to me. I just need a pair of athletic shoes so I can wear it to the gym. And I'm only making this video now because, I was thinking about this thing so much last night that I didn't get enough sleep. And then I got about 3 hours of sleep, and I wanted to go to the gym this morning. Which I wasn't able to do because my mind wasn't right, because I'm still thinking about the topic of this conversation from last night. Because like I said, man, a lot of stuff he said I found insulting. And I found it offensive as a parent and as a person. Because, to tell somebody that, you just want to go the worthless, pathetic niggas because I don't. And that's another thing. You worthless and pathetic nigga because I don't agree with your specific point of view. And I don't agree with it because I got my own. And I think my own is refined enough that I can, I'm just like I'm doing right now, that I can hold my own and explain it to you. You don't need to agree. You don't need to agree. I'm going to upload this video later, but you don't really need to agree with what I'm saying here. Because this is my point of view. Like I said, within my own personal universe, I can control my budget, so I can endorse people who are doing business in a manner that I can appreciate, and I can neglect people and avoid those who aren't. You can avoid those people who are doing business in a way that I don't find conducive to either the black population, which would be like a Paula Deen, or just to people in general, which would be like McDonald's. Right? I ain't never gonna change. I didn't mean to use a double negative and a fragmented sentence, but I won't. I can modify, but the thing is, look, man, the personality that you have, you create that personality over time. And then you have to be comfortable with it. And so my thing is, like I said, when you're talking to a lot of black people, it don't even matter if they're conscious or intellectual, whatever. They all seem to have one thing. Like, for instance, you'll talk to some of the New Age Soulquarians, the Aquarian people into astrology. And I really can't say that all of them, because it's basically a lot of people you meet, and they'll give you a premise, and then when you ask them in detail, because I'm open and I want to know more about your manner of thinking, they would say something like, you got to figure it out for yourself. I'm like, well, if I got to figure it out for myself, do you know anything? Because to me, this was a dialogue. It's like last night. I don't mind talking to anybody, man, but when you tell me that, I'll read the book, Antiquity, The Black Women in Antiquity, Ivan Van Sertima. I might get that book. I won't read it cover to cover, though. I'll probably read a couple of chapters, because, that level of scholarship, like I said, it's not what I'm interested in now. I have a book by Gross. I think it's Bertram Gross, Friendly Fascism. I got a book in there, The Manufacture of Evil. I think that's by Leonard Tiger. I'm getting some other books I got to get. I got a few books by Chris Hedges and so on and so forth. Those are like the recent books that I've got. Normally I keep some books in the truck, but I took them out of here because I had to film up the windows and everything. But my point is, I wouldn't get those books. Look, because that level of scholarship, I don't want to have those conversations where all people do is talk about being black. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'd rather make a video about something else. All right? And don't, for those of you that are watching this, isn't that what you would like to do also? Think about this. When you get around other people, don't you want to talk about other things you may be interested in and maybe an expert in? Don't you want to talk about fishing? What's the great places to go fishing, and what can you get? Can you catch a blue bass, a red bass, or a striped bass, or a black bass? Right? Don't you want to talk about, if your thing is aviation, don't you want to talk about this plane versus that plane? Why is it the only thing that you become an expert in is being black? Right? Why is that all that you become an expert in, and how palatable and how marketable is that? If you have a friend of yours and he's running track, so if you know about running cross country or track or any other type of athletics, and I don't mean just knowing sports stats from basketball or football or baseball, because that's a whole different issue, that you can know all the stats but can't actually do the sport, or you could do the sport minorly, but to a minor level. See, that's why. Because look, man, if I'm interested in all of these things, I don't want to talk about being black all day, man. Listen, I want to talk to some farmers about some agricultural techniques. You want to talk to some botanists about, the relationship between this flower and that flower, and how this tree is similar to that tree, and how it bears fruit, and how the bark is, and so on and so forth. Why are not enough black people experts in other things? Right? Why are they solely concentrated in being experts in being black, or the antiquity of being black? The old African anthropology. Now, nobody's knocking, but like I said, that should be one cue in your library. So I still don't feel as good as I wanted to feel in order to go to the gym, but I got some stuff off my chest. And so basically, man, when you guys are watching these videos, and when you listen to people, you have to take everybody with a grain of salt, or with a degree of mistrust. Don't believe anything anybody says, and I don't want you to believe anything I say either. These guys will make these videos, and all of a sudden they become your idols and icons, and these dudes are just as phony as everybody else. You just have to wait. All right, when you're listening to podcasts on your phone, I mean, there's these guys on, no matter what the network, it could be any network, Alex Jones, PRN, Progressive Radio Network, with the Johnny Mueller and the show he's got on there, Life as an Expat, or but that's just one specific. But there are people, everybody, take what they say and filter it, because you're going to find that there is some portion of it that is bullshit. You know, look, I like a lot of dudes, man. I mean, you know, what's that dude, Stylistic, from he's got a program, Nut War TV, the People's TV on YouTube. You know, I mean, the Hootie Mantra with D Health Store. You gotta take what everybody says, man. You know, and I wouldn't don't believe anything, and don't put anybody on any pedestals, right? Because as soon as you do that, you're gonna find out that the people are phony. Right? They're hustlers and hustlers. I'm not saying that those names that I mentioned, I'm not saying that they are. What I'm saying is I follow them on YouTube, and I like some of their videos, you know, but I don't believe nothing everybody says. And just like this conversation last night, you're going to put all your faith in Al Sharpton and then tell me I don't understand how politics works. I understand you got to make, you know, you have to make bridges and compromises. I don't understand why is it that black people got to make all the compromises. Why they got to cross all the bridges and get nothing in return, right? You get recognition. This is what this thing with Obama is. This dude is an awful president, but you get the recognition of having a black president, so you refuse to concede any of the things that he may be doing may not be beneficial to the general American public nor the people of the planet Earth. So, you know, nobody wants to complain. They just want to go along and let somebody else define for them what the principles are and what the arguing, what they call them, the talking points, what the talking points are. So you watch the whole show, and then all you did was become indoctrinated with talking points, and no one actually knows the real issue. Right? So at the close of this video, I still do not endorse Al Sharpton, not for president. I mean, look, he can have his TV show and his radio show, but I won't listen to those shows. I don't listen to those shows because there's nothing I can learn from those shows. And if you listen to those shows, you're going to find that there's nothing you can learn from those shows either. It's just, you know, a 60-minute program and 25 minutes of commercials. So that's about 35, 36 minutes of just passing the buck. Just telling us to vote Democratic. And that was the final point that he had to walk away, because he was telling me that the National Action Network has they have a training program, and they're training people to be lawyers. Yeah. For who? They're training people to be lawyers for the Democratic Party, to be lobbyists for the Democratic Party. That whole thing is a Democratic fundraising arm. You know, it's a social arm of the Democratic Party. And the reason how you know it is because they don't ever talk about any other party. Right? You put all your eggs in one basket and bring that basket to market and don't get what you want. Shouldn't have put all your eggs in one basket and went to one market. You know, you put your eggs in various baskets. And then when you go to market, you have multiple representation. That's a farming analogy, you know. You put the eggs in a basket, you go to the market, you sit in your stall, and you hope people come to buy your eggs. Well, people don't come to buy black people eggs. They just come to get their political support and get their money, maybe a contribution, and then go back and do whatever they wanted to do. And then you're still in the same situation, figuring the only people that are going to listen to you are the Democrats, so you got to stick with the Democrats. And then tell me I don't know politics, because I'm seeing that you're getting played by the Democratic Party and getting neglected by the Republican Party. So what you do is you get another party. All right? I had this conversation with James Davis. He was the councilman in this district over here. He only lived 2 blocks away. I had a conversation. We were on a train. We were on a 2 train back when they had redbirds. All the redbirds have been retired and dumped in the ocean to make reefs, you know, artificial reefs. But back when they were running those old IRT redbird trains, the train was red. And this was before James Davis got murdered in 2003 by some homosexual dude who had a crush on him in City Hall in New York City. It was 2003. I remember that because I had talked to the guy and I had thought that, dang man, this dude, James Davis at this time, he was a New York City police officer. You know, I think he was a detective. You know, James Davis And I had talked to him, and he was on the train, and I was, hey man, I know you. And we were talking, and he was a real intense dude on the train, and I kept saying the same thing I'm saying now. You've got to spread yourself around. Now, he was saying in New York City, you got to have alliances and allegiances, and therefore you got to be committed to the Democratic Party. And I say, yeah, I understand what you're saying, man, but nothing ever changes. Now, I had said this to him. Now, he got murdered in 2003. And I believe that I had said this to him in maybe 1999. I had said this to him in 1999. But I always thought that the dude was a cool dude. I just thought that he was really intense. Because a lot of times when you talk to people in New York, they give you sad sack excuses and sad sack rationales. Now, I wasn't trying to give him a sad sack rationale. I was trying to give him an alternative reality, an alternative rationale where you have to, don't put all I already made that point. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. But that's what I was saying. Look, man, invest yourself in several different parties. So therefore, what you're really getting is the objective and not the alliance. Because the thing about black people in these political alliances is you are always going to get sold out, because you always have been sold out. You had an alliance with the Jewish people in the 50s and the 40s, 50s, and the 60s. But the minute that they can get out of the ghetto, them Jewish people got out of the ghetto. Because for those of you who don't know, when they were building those suburbs post-World War II, they had covenants against Jewish people also. Right? You could not rent the Negroes, you couldn't sell the Negroes, and you couldn't sell the Jews. But when, as the suburbs kept getting further and further out from the central city, then the suburbs that were inside that core ring, in close proximity to the central city, they started to suffer because there was no one they could sell those houses to. So they relaxed the covenant on the Jewish people. This is why when you go out there to Nassau County, and look, and for those of you that want to look up Levittown and all of those covenants they had. Levittown was just the most popular because there's a Levittown outside of every large city in this country. There's a Levittown outside of Philadelphia, Levittown outside New York, Levittown outside of Boston. Framingham was a Levittown. All right? There's one outside of Cleveland. So what happened is, these Jewish people, what they would do is they would take their money and they would leave. And that's what happened to your alliance. You were stuck in the ghetto, and they were able to leave. And they did it over here. When I listen to old guys talk about this neighborhood right here, they said all these houses were owned by Jewish people. Nostrand Avenue was a brilliant shopping district for Jewish people. And then when they left around the 60s and the 70s, then the neighborhood became blighted. And now they want to gentrify it. So the Jewish people come back in. These are the children of those people that had left and the grandchildren. They come back in, and then they're buying up the houses, but they make the rent so unaffordable that when the people move in, they can't stay. All right, and I'm not talking about black people. I'm talking about white people. I see it every year. The kids come out of college and they move here, and in order to make this work, they got to bundle up. So now it's like 5 or 6 young guys, and they're in an apartment, and they're in this apartment, but they move in soon as the end of school year, so they graduate in May, and then they'll move in June or something like that. But by the time October, November, and December comes, half of them leave. They can't afford it. Or the job that they thought they had is not panning out, and they can't get another one that easy. Because, now they got some work experience, and now they see that it's dog eat dog, and a lot of people, they want you as long as you're ignorant and blind. They don't want you if you're knowing anything or so. But my point was, when black people make these political alliances, all right, you're the first person to get sold out. You'll make a political alliance with the Latinos, which is pretty much it's an eponymous group, because you could be anything. So the Latinos in New York differ from the Latinos in Los Angeles, by and large. Latinos in Miami will differ from the ones in Phoenix, and different ones in Houston, and different ones in Chicago. So it's very hard for you to make an alliance with people if you don't have a collective strategy about what you want to achieve. All right. So what happens is, you'll try to make those alliances, but being that a lot of the Latinos are pretty much all they really want to do is be recognized as white. So once they get recognized as white, that means they don't want to be recognized as having an affiliation or an allegiance or any type of similarity with you, even though that you create that political alliance with them, because in their mind, the only thing that you had in common was that you were a segment of poor people. So they sell you out. and then you stuck by yourself, or once again, putting all your eggs in the Democratic Party, that somebody might want to listen to you, that someone might want to hear you, you know, it won't happen. So, and that's why I said, you know, you should spread yourself around and get invested in all of these different parties. Now, my colleague last night gonna walk away like, I don't know nothing about nothing. You tell me. You are watching this video. Does that make sense or does that not make sense? To put all your ambitions and all your efforts in one party when you got 15 other parties out here. All right? So, are you involved in politics because you want to get something done or because you want to win? But why are those two things, why are they instinctively different? Why can't you get something done and win? Because what you're doing now is you're not winning. You're in a party that may win. But when that party wins, you still have to go back to living in the shadows like you did before. And if you think I'm wrong, examine it for yourself. Examine what you see for yourself, man. They'll come to your neighborhood and get your vote. You'll vote for them. And after they get elected and get put in this position, what happens to your community? What happens to you? Nothing happens to you. And what are you even asking for? You asking for jobs. Oh, you shouldn't be asking for jobs. Right? You should be picking up principles of entrepreneurship. Don't worry about no job. Right? Do your own thing. So tell me I'm politically naive because this whole thing where you just back the Democratic Party and you badmouth the Republicans and the conservatives and the liberals and I don't even know. The whole thing is a ruse, man. The whole thing is a ruse, you know. The Democrats and Republicans, it's like the whippersnappers versus the rabble-rousers. It's all fake, man. And for you not to know that it's fake and then feel it, I gotta get a part. I mean, it's like supporting a world. What it is? It used to be called WWF. Now it's WWE. You know, worldwide wrestling, whatever entertainment, whatever it is. You know what I'm talking about. The wrestling franchise where the guys got the big egos and the personalities, and they come out in the braggadocio and they're with the costumes and everything, like Sergeant Slaughter and Jimmy Superfly Snooker. What's the difference? What's the difference? If you're back in the Iron Sheik versus Sergeant Slaughter, or Andre the Giant versus Hulk Hogan, isn't it the same thing? Isn't it like a cartoony contest? Hey? Why don't you spread yourself around, man? You know? It's like that song Joe Budden's Who Killed Hip Hop? It's like some of you just can't like more than one guy. You can't like more than one MC. You can't like more than one party. That's why I'm not really affiliated with these things. Alright? You know, alright, man, I've been dragging on this one. I was just, you know, because I'm just trying to get some stuff off my head because, like I said, man, the conversation I had last night, this dude really, you know, he really insulted me, man, alright? I didn't appreciate that, you know? This whole thing where if I don't believe what you believe, then I must be stupid and ignorant. You guys, for those of you that watched this whole video, you know, you tell me. Are these points lucid? You know, are they out of this world? Are they odd? I mean, you know, I'm just tired of having a conversation with black people where that's all you can do is talk about being black. And if I don't agree with your thing, then, you know, something wrong with me. So, I'm going to close this one out right now. And if I have anything more to say, I'll try to say it and make it condensed and make it brief. But, all right.